Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, popping on here with my beautiful team member, Master Coach Joe Young, and we are hot off of a new class. And I gotta be honest, came in today with a little bit of a heavy heart because that's what it is to sometimes sit in the container with women who are courageously showing up to navigate the tough stuff, to show up to be present for their children, to take care of themselves, and to keep their divorces on track. And it's not always rainbows and unicorns and perfect strategy, but it is really, it's just a beautiful class and container to sit in because it is the one place that women really can come and they can be seen and heard and validated and reflected and share resources, and we laugh and we cry. It's powerful medicine. When you're going through a tough time, you just can't keep yourself busy enough. You can't bypass what's happening. You got to feel the feelings. And today we were in the feelings. I mean, they weren't all bad feelings. And actually,
Mm.
ironically, I started the class because a lot of times today was our office hours. We really start by just checking in. And so obviously we tend to check in and say like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? What's coming up? What are your challenges? But today we decided we're going to rescript that. We're going to reframe it. We're going to flip it over and say, what are you grateful for? Let's focus on what we're grateful for. Now, again, I'm not bypassing the reality of what these mamas are dealing with, but I'm trying to shift a little bit of their perspective to help fortify them to deal with all of these realities. So, for some, of course, there were big wins and there were things to celebrate, and we really rejoiced in that. And then for some mamas, it was really hard. And we literally had some moms, sometimes when someone asks a question, you're just like, oh God, don't call on me. I don't want to have to answer that question. We literally had some mamas in the group today that were just kind of like squirrely, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm grateful for. And they were really kind of like digging. And this is where Joe just is so beautiful and heart-centered and gentle. She just has this incredible way of approaching this. And I think this is where I'm gonna pass the baton to you.
Oh, yeah. It's always the both end of every situation. We say that over and over and over again. And sometimes we are in the depths of really hard feelings and someone goes, "What are you grateful for?" It's like, oh, I can't even think of a single thing that I'm grateful for in this moment. And what I did today was just provide a gentle reminder that sometimes it's not about, I can't find anything to be grateful about, but I won't. And I know that that sounds like a tough reality. And what it really means is that sometimes we're so caught up in the weeds. We talked about that quite a bit today. So caught up in the weeds of what's keeping us trapped in feelings that we won't allow ourselves to look outside of that because right now I'm just caught. And so, one of the ways that we can unstick ourselves, that we can become unstuck, is to change the perspective a little bit and
Mhm.
to say, what if you just had gratitude for the fact that you're realizing how you feel? That you have the ability to feel. Like it can be so simple. Or the fact that you woke up this morning, you know, the fact that you have a roof over your head. I mean, we can always find something to be grateful for.
Mhm.
So it was just a gentle reminder that, yeah, you're in the weeds right now, and I get it, and everything feels hard and everything feels tough. But the importance is to also recognize that if I change my perspective, I can see it differently and I can find other ways or other things to look at and put my focus and attention on, which can lighten that for
Mhm.
me a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was such a beautiful class. And so sometimes when we're telling ourselves, bottom line, what we can't do, what if you switched it to I won't do?
Mhm.
And see if it changes the perspective a little bit. Because when we can't do something, we don't have choice. When we won't do something, we do have choice.
I love when you also said, when we say, I don't know, it's a
Mm,
form of resistance.
mm,
So, what are we resisting? The very thing we want to feel better? We have to catch ourselves. Listen, we're human. We're going through the human experience. It's messy. Divorce or no divorce, life throws us curveballs. And I feel like I have had this conversation multiple times today, but we really
mhm.
want to bring awareness into our experience, into our day-to-day life. And it's okay to just say, this feels like crap. I'm not happy. But pay attention to where your thoughts are going because we are gathering evidence all the time. And what are we gathering evidence of? What we're capable of, how strong we are, what we want, or what's wrong, what's not going to work out, what's going to be terrible. So it's like when we start to just become aware of it, it is okay to not have the answers. It is okay not to know what to do with something. It is okay not to like something. It is okay to be disappointed, to be afraid, to be overwhelmed. Just say it. I don't like the way I feel right now. And I trust that I'm going to figure it out. Because
Yeah.
we can decide, right? Like we can decide, what am I attaching to? Am I attaching
Hmm.
to more of what's going to drag me down? Or just realize, oh, that's an old habit of mine. That's a default setting. And it doesn't take me anyplace good, you know? And it's that simple.
That's
Now,
right.
it doesn't solve the problems of the world, doesn't change anything in that moment, but it interrupts. It just interrupts. And we literally were saying things like, listen, we don't expect you at any given moment when you've like been dealt a blow or a disappointment to be able to flip it and just say, like, everything is fine and that's great and it's all going to work out. But you just could take a deep breath, get back in your body, breathe, regulate, interrupt, turn on some music, walk outside. Today, I love pulling cards, just pulling an affirmation or something that's going to feel good. Talk about what am I grateful for the first thing in the morning. I'm grateful for that hot cup of coffee. I am, and I was just telling my sister, start your day. I sent her this beautiful card deck and was like, go out on your terrace with your coffee and this card deck. And don't tell me you don't have time for that. Because if you have time for that coffee, you have that time, you have time to pull a card. And just like ask God or the angels or the universe or whatever it is, what is the message I need to receive today? And pull a card and be a little playful and be a little curious and allow your spirit to lean into something that could feel better, even if it's that 5 minutes. And when we start to do something like that, we're just setting a little stepping stone. And then we can build another and we can lay down another one. And then you know what? Suddenly we have a path.
Yeah. It's a beautiful interruption to when we're not loving how we're feeling. And we are not bypassers by any stretch. In fact, if
We're
if
ass
I
kickers.
I was going to say, if anything, if I could teach anything in this planet, it would be to teach people how to feel their feelings. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, feel what you feel. Be in the moment. Have frustration, have anger. And when you have it, I mean, have it. Be angry, be rageful safely. Feel the feelings because that is how they will pass. But also realize that there's always another perspective, another side. You don't use it to bypass, but you use it to keep yourself balanced. And
Mhm.
so I love what you were saying there because we tell our mamas all the time the words that come out of your mouth, the thoughts that you think, they're always affirming something. So if you're going throughout your day and you're telling yourself how miserable you are and that your day sucks and that you hate everything around you and life is miserable, guess what you're going to see? More and more and more of that
Mhm.
because that's what you're affirming.
Mhm.
So instead, if you could say, you know what? Today got off to a really rough start. It got
Okay.
off to a really rough start, but I've had rough starts before. And I know that's not an indicator of how the rest of my day has to go. It's not an indicator of how I need to show up. And so, what if instead I have a little grace with myself and I say, good for you for getting through a tough morning. Good for you for putting up with what you put up with this morning. There's always a way to affirm something more
Love that.
positive
Yeah. No, I love that.
or more loving to ourselves than just continuing to stay in the spiral of where we are.
Yeah. And also, and you're not going to get my whole day. You ruined my morning, but you're not going to get my whole day, you know?
That's right. That's
And
right.
because we all know what that's like. We all know what that's like. We know when we get
Hmm.
off to a bad start, and we know when it spirals down and the whole day goes like that. And then we get to the end of the day and we're like, why did I relinquish my whole day to this? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's so true. And I wanted to go back for a minute to the I don't know piece about the resistance. Pay attention to how often your mind wants to tell you that you don't know. Like, what am I going to do in this situation? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to stay in this marriage. I don't know if I'm going to stay in this job. I don't know what steps to take next. We are affirming what we don't know all the time. And that is a way to keep ourselves stuck. And so it's not conscious, obviously, but it's what happens when we are having resistance to moving forward. So instead of I don't know, ask yourself, what if I did know? What would the answer be? Or what if I had to guess? What would the answer be? And you just
Can
allow
I,
like a little crack in the
yeah,
resistance to open up.
I was actually going to say, what if, even if that doesn't feel like maybe we're not there yet and they can't, that doesn't resonate. What if it's like, what if you could say, I'm figuring out. I'm figuring out if I want to leave my marriage. I'm figuring out when I want to leave my marriage. I'm figuring out if I want to stay in this job instead of what if, like, because sometimes it's really hard to get to the horizon if we can't quite get there yet. But like maybe the middle step is I'm figuring it out. Does that?
Or I'm willing to hear my own answer
Yes. Oh, yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have our answers.
Mhm.
It's so the I don't know is not
It's
really a
really, I'm
truth.
not listening.
It's
I
more of
don't,
an I'm not
yeah.
listening. Yes.
I don't know if I'm not listening. And
Yeah.
it says your intuition, right? Your intuition is like,
Mhm.
hello, I'm here. I'm here. I
Yeah.
don't know what you don't hear. That's another thing, right? And I know I've been guilty of this in my life as well. I am
Mhm.
like super productive and super busy. When I don't want to feel a feeling, I vacuum the house. I go sweep the porch. I mean, whatever it is, like get involved in a project. So that's another thing. It's like mamas that are constantly on the, I don't have time. I don't know. I'm too busy. Well, then take something out of that schedule. Something, you've got to let go of something. You've got to get quiet. You've got to get still. You've got to listen to your intuition because that's where the I don't know turns into I know, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know.
not taking the time to listen. I'm
Right.
not really willing to hear the voice that's knocking. And oftentimes we wait until it gets super loud or something catastrophic happens. And what if we didn't have to do that? What if we learned how to listen to the whispers, listen to our voice? And to your point, we have to create some quiet in order to do that. And that was another theme of today, right? In our class
Mhm.
was we did have a few moms who were able to give themselves some moments of quiet and they were relishing the moments where it was quiet. And also talking about sometimes how it's hard to be in quiet because we aren't distracting from what's really speaking to us.
Mhm.
And learning how to sit in quiet and hear that voice is a game changer
Mhm.
because that's where all your magic resides, is in that voice.
And this is why we put such an emphasis on this work because this bridges the gap. This bridges the
Mm.
gap for you to be able to show up for all the stuff. I know your plate is piled high. You throw a divorce in on top of an already busy life with kids, with working, with a household. It's a lot. And oh, and then all your feelings. And then working overtime to not listen to your intuition because that takes a lot of energy as well. So we unpack so much strategy. Everybody's in different stages, but so much comes up in class. And we're obviously very focused on strategy in divorce, with your finances, in your negotiations, with your ex, with your kids, whatever. But in order for you to show up in the best condition possible, you got to take care of you. You've got to be able to tap into your own voice. You've got to be able to hear your answers. Otherwise, it's this constant ping pong. I don't know. 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 Because when you learn to flex this muscle, it becomes it's second nature because
Mm.
it really is your nature. It's a homecoming and
Yeah.
it cuts out so much chaos.
Yeah, it really does. And it's, like I said, that's where our truth resides. So learning how to get quiet enough to listen to that truth,
Mhm,
oof, there's nothing better. But unfortunately, most of us don't grow up learning that. Most of us don't grow up in environments where people say, no, go tap into your own truth here. We're
mhm,
so quick to
mhm,
want to turn outside for all of that. So it's a new muscle. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you do it, the more you learn how to trust that voice. We talk all the time about what kind of evidence are you putting into your toolbox all the time. And it becomes evidence of how you can learn to trust yourself. It
mhm.
is a skill that you learn, and it gets easier and easier and easier the more you do it. So, yes, we talked about so many things in class today. It was the gamut, which I love because of all the things. And you started this conversation with this is a space where you can show up no matter where you're at,
Mhm,
whether you're feeling on top of the world or whether you feel like you're literally drowning. And we always have extremes of that.
mhm,
And we said today, look how much or how many of you started off just a few short weeks ago feeling like you were drowning, and now you feel like you're coming up for air. You're
mhm.
able to sustain yourself. You're finding joy in the little things again, right? And then sometimes you dip back down. And guess what? What did you say? Well, welcome to the human experience.
But the other thing that's also beautiful about this is we also see in real time that yes, they may dip down, they may have something thrown their way, they may be in some sort of discomfort, but we also see that they're leaning into their tools. They're
Mhm.
leaning in and unpacking in front of us, in this room, in this reflection, and they're processing. And that's what it's all about. It's
And
just
faster and faster and
faster and
faster
faster.
each and every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also, when you were talking about the noise, noise comes in many forms. You've got plenty of noise in your own head, but then there's also the noise of taking polls, asking everybody else, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? The bottom line is, everybody's going to have a lot of opinions about what you should do with your life, your divorce, your kids, your settlements, your co-parenting. Bottom line is, it's your life. So the sooner that you can attune to your own intuition, and like Joe said, just the faster and faster that you can access that, the easier and easier you will move through life. Let alone, first your divorce and then just the rest of your life. There's no going back. And it really, really calms your nervous system, calms you, calms the world around you. It doesn't mean that you won't make difficult decisions, but it just means you will make them with so much more ease.
Yeah. And don't we all need a little more of that in our lives?
Oh, yeah. And a little quiet, right? Yeah.
Yes. A little quiet.
And so I'm grateful for you, Joe. I'm grateful for the beautiful mamas who had the courage to advocate for themselves and to step into this container and to say, I am worthy of this support and I need this. And I do care about the condition that I am in and my children are in and my divorce is in. And that's going to inform the future ahead. So it's an incredible, incredible journey. And we are so grateful for all of the mamas that have entrusted us with that journey,
Mm.
allowing us to walk beside them. So we just wanted to pop on and share that with you today. Sometimes my mama bear heart feels a little heavy because I have walked in those shoes, but I hold so much hope and possibility and love for all of them as they are on this journey. And we just want you to know that you are not alone. You are not isolated. Someone gave me a great metaphor today. I was in a session and she reminded me of how much she loves beautiful, mighty trees. And sometimes we'll see a gorgeous tree out in a meadow or in a field, and it looks like it's isolated, you know, and then we forget that as tall as that tree is, they have roots that are equally, if not twice as long, holding them and connecting them to a whole ecosystem and community. And they're so solid and grounded. And I just thought it was a great metaphor for what it feels like to be in this container. And so,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, and we love our trees. So we just wanted to pop on and share that with you today. And we encourage you, if you're not already, to join the Intuitive Divorce. If you check out our website, please get on our newsletter. We put out several newsletters a week, tons of great information, just ways to support you. Again, remind you that you're not alone and that while this is an ending, it's also a very, very big beginning. And you get to control that. You get to design that. So, guess we'll just leave you there with that and see you next week.
Beautiful. We're grateful for you. And Kristen, I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Mwah.